We getting learnt. I'm gonna learn y'all something.
There you are. Get the link. Camera's blocked out, so if you
And
want to
that's how you make money without flashing
I found
body
out that no
parts.
students wanted to be anywhere near the camera.
Darklight with the fat hundo. Thank you,
Oh
sir.
my gosh.
That's how you make money without flashing body parts. Thank you, man. Seriously, that's immense. And Smoke, thank you for the gift sub to Misfit Druid. Obviously, I can't reply or respond to alerts during the thing, but yeah, definitely appreciated. Now, you're not getting on Zoom. You're not getting all the desktop audio, just the microphone, right?
Yeah, just the microphone.
Okay, so they can't use text to speech to skirt the rules or anything.
That's right.
Okay, just making sure.
So chat can donate and text the speech away and have a great time. We just won't hear it.
Right.
Just you will be tortured by it as you try to answer questions seriously and honestly.
Yeah. Hey, that's fair because that's how streaming works. We're really going to give the students a taste.
The experience.
Awesome. I like how you and me are side by side right here. And I'm looking at my list of questions like, what is this garbage?
That's why, and I have no problem telling chat how nervous I was actually talking to Broski the first time, having known him 4 years. That was quite the experience.
I was pretty nervous myself, but I think it was a pretty short call. But by the end of it, we had gotten over the hump.
Camera's off, so you're good.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you could see it or not.
Yeah, the experience when people come in, Broski, is they're like, no, okay.
No, they're all safe and private unless they speak up.
Yep. They brought coffee today, so. As God intended, right? The person in front of me today ordering coffee ordered a special drink, like, 17 different things on the coffee.
I think I had too much coffee this morning.
See, look, Broski, you didn't do it Sensu out in my name. There it is.
There it is. This is our guy, Bremen.
All right, so we're about a minute early, so we're going to go ahead and kick it off, class. So let me start off by saying hello to Broski and chat. I am Dr. Bremen Ainsworth. You're not to call me that. You probably know me by Kibble, or you can call me Bremen. That's fine. I'm a professor at Oklahoma State University, Oklahoma City. This semester, I had the amazing opportunity to teach a class to wonderful students about video games and culture. And we've been looking at the ways in which video games interacts with psychology and philosophy and art, and talking about the development of esports and streaming as a professional business. So I decided, as a wonderful opportunity, to bring in Broski to talk to students so that we got cat cam, yay, to talk about streaming and what it's like. So as the wild experience goes forward, we're going to move forward. So with that, hello, class. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Old Man Broski. He is a professional streamer on Twitch. I have known him for 4 years. I first entered his chat on a raid while he was doing Ludwig BL4 caveman run, naked, 1184.
1184 deaths. We got it on the 1185th try.
So he did the boss 1,184 times. I was really hooked. He has a great community. So I decided to bring him in to start off with. I'm just going to welcome him and give him an opportunity to introduce himself, and then we'll get into the questions. You are welcome to ask your questions if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, I'll just guide the conversation where it goes. If you have a burning question, please do jump in. And as always, students will just meander in. If I'm talking to Broski, just let them know the camera's off so they don't have to be on. And with that, Broski, take it away.
So as he said, I am Old Man Broski. Chat knows me also as Bob, my actual name. Most streamers keep that pretty private. I have been a hobbyist streamer for 6 years, almost 6 years. I've been full-time for 3 years now. My channel is more about people first and games and everything else second. I feel incredibly lucky to get to do what I do. It has dramatically changed my life in a lot of irreversible ways. And
Is this distracting?
yes, it is distracting,
Unbelievable.
chat. And I feel pretty lucky to be invited to do this today. A little nervous, but we'll settle in, and I hope I can be informative.
Cool. Well, thank you for that, Broski. So one of their first questions, and maybe chat's burning to know this as well, is what goes into your setup on a daily basis? Like, do you roll out of bed and instantly hit streaming, or is there lots of setup that goes on? Basically, how does streaming as a job work with you in your daily life?
Okay. In the beginning, there was no setup. I did just roll out of bed, throw on a robe, didn't even comb my hair. I just hit go live. All I wanted to do was play Nintendo and hang out with my friends. You know, no big deal. But these days, usually I have to make sure I've eaten plenty, hydrated plenty. There's some technical setup with the lights and the camera adjustment to deal with the daylight changes. The green screening is always a hassle. There's a little bit of testing for the game capture and, quality concerns. I watch a couple of other streams for a little bit to get myself in the people mood and the gaming mood. I try to think of a funny or a clickbaity stream title and stream announcement, but then I always default to the simplest, dumbest, most pointless thing because I'm not a funny man. That
works on Twitch.
Yeah, it works, and that's really pretty much it on a day-to-day basis. But once in a while, there's some extreme setup for special cases like today.
Well, how long, so like when you do one of these special cases and you're like setting up like the background, how much time would you say that you invest in that? Because that's obviously work that, since you're not online streaming, you're not getting tipped or paid for. How long would you think that you spend in the background?
Anywhere from a few minutes up to a few hours, depending on how complex. Sometimes there's special functions in the bot that take a little scripting work. Sometimes it's just adding images to the background overlay. It really varies depending on what we're doing. And whenever there's a big deal stream, even if it doesn't have any special functions, I take extra care to make sure it's right. And I can see somebody is going to trigger cat cam constantly.
Now, you mentioned big streams, and that's the second time you have. So what do you mean by big streams?
Big streams, okay, so since moving to the Netherlands, big streams have been things like charity for a refugee situation for the Ukrainian
refugees. Is it going
refugees.
to be on a test?
Mike, these alerts.
Absolutely, we'll be on the test.
We recently did a charity stream for the Ukrainian refugees, raising over $11,000. There was an immense amount of setup for that. Other big deal streams have been crowd control streams where chat can use financial contributions to support the channel to interfere with the gameplay, make it harder or easier, or reset the game and make me start all over from the beginning. So I do challenge runs sometimes, allowing them to mess with me that way. So that kind of thing.
And you just brought up the Netherlands, so that might be a good time to transition because you had a really big life change based on streaming. So
Yes.
when I first showed up 4 years ago, I can't remember exactly where you were working, but you had a job and you were a manager. And then you started doing this full time. And life happened, right? So what changed?
Okay, so when we first met, I was the manager of a dollar store as my day job, and I streamed as a hobby and just for beer money and for fun. And I had a couple of weeks off.
You're
of,
doing very well, Broski. Don't let chat think you otherwise.
Okay.
Now to
They're
narrate
hitting you
the
with a
entire
text-to-speech, I
literary
got
works
you.
of Shakespeare.
Yeah. So sorry guys, this is my gig. So I had a couple weeks off work and I was able to focus on streaming 40, 50 hours a week during that time. And Chad encouraged me to not go back to work and stick with streaming full time. I didn't have a lot of confidence that it would work out, but I tried to trust Chat, and it turned out that was a good decision because I have been from that time able to carry forward as with this as my full-time only gig. And right around that time, I met an amazing lady in my chat, and we got to talking on the side, and we just had our 3-year anniversary. And it has led to me moving from the United States to the Netherlands to live with her permanently. And on top of that, as far as irreversible changes to my life, we're 6 months pregnant.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I have a life partner and a child on the way because of streaming.
Yes, and that was Sensu earlier, the lady who outed my name in chat. That was
Yes, that is Sensu. She is also a part-time streamer herself and a
who
great one.
does Bloodborne. They actually did she come during the great run of Ludwig, or was she shortly after?
During.
Okay, so see, he gained so many people doing Ludwig. He should just do that constantly. So, gotta.
Sensu, I'm gonna redact it with this girl.
Obviously, streaming is something that a lot of young people look at and they're like, that is exactly. Yes, this is Kibblezora. Streaming is something very sexy that we want to do. What's that like mentally?
That's a very good and very complex question. The highs and lows are kind of incredible. So when you're growing as a streamer, there's a lot of, if you're like me, you put a lot of pressure on yourself for growth, but you still have to be yourself because what's the point if you have to fake it, right? So every time you hit a new high bar in viewership or, general support for the channel, or you have big deal special event streams, it does set a high bar, and then the next week you're back to your regular streaming level, and it's kind of a come down. And even though that regular streaming level was the new high bar 3 months ago. So there's a lot of ups and downs with it. It can be mentally draining, constantly questioning whether you're doing as well as you used to, what you're doing different that isn't as good. There's a lot of self-criticism that goes into it. And if you're like me, there's imposter syndrome, which is a very real thing. Sitting back wondering, why are all these fantastic people, really cool, fun people, choosing my channel to sit on for a few hours or 8 or 10 hours at a time? Why? And I have days where I am extremely hard on myself, and other days where I'm top of the world. Sorry, there's a scooter in the background going down the bike path. That is another hazard of streaming.
Well, I'm sure someone's going to voice command you the event, but I just think of the time where you were yelling at the Nazis picking on the homeless man outside your window.
Yes,
and
that
interrupted your stream.
That was quite a thing. What he's talking about there, I was still living in the United States. I was streaming from my little stream office that I rented, and I heard some commotion out on the street through the window. I went looking. It was a group of little wannabe neo-Nazis harassing a homeless trans person on the sidewalk in front of my building. And I shouted at them. There was some back and forth. I kind of threatened to come down there and talk to them. And when I came back to the desk, I found out that my microphone was picking up all of it. and chat was just rioting over it. So now 2 clips from that are sound triggers on my channel.
What are the two? What do they say?
I don't know what are the sound triggers. I know the first one is I'll let you say it, but it's the famous one.
Okay, so there's hey, none of that shit around here. And there's also a excuse the language, this is a college class, but it is fuck you, get your bullshit out of here, which is a trimmed down version of get your neo-Nazi Heil Hitler bullshit out of here.
And it is quite angry and loud. And they, yep, they're voice commanding him right now in chat with it. So it's pretty. Go by, check out the channel later. You can voice command it.
Well, I have those triggers disabled because I didn't want them to pick up in the microphone.
Currently. So, yeah, oh gosh, lots of fun stuff occurring. Now this isn't your first time starting streaming. You started streaming after your brother and then restarted. Would you talk about that a little bit?
Okay, sure. I have a brother that I didn't grow up with, so we weren't closely connected, but when I asked the family to put us in touch, they told me he was a streamer on Twitch. I didn't even know what Twitch was. So I went looking, found his channel. I thought Twitch was awesome. I was immediately impressed with what he did and what he was accomplishing, and I liked the vibe. So I hung out for a couple months. I ended up getting curious about how it all worked from the cockpit view, the technical aspect of it, and what it was like. So I set up to stream just for experimentation. And because people knew me from his community, some people immediately showed up in my chat and made sure that it was really fun. So I stuck with it. The problem is I started to grow kind of rapidly by the standards of brand new streamers. And it reached a point where I started to feel like I had cheat coded my way to success, whatever that means. And so the imposter syndrome kicked in, plus my Southern or Midwestern upbringing where you have to earn everything the hard way kicked in. And I just didn't feel good about it. So I had a crash one day upstairs here, and I just stopped streaming with no announcement and deleted my channel. And 3 months later, I missed it too much. So I came back and started a new channel, told no one, and rebuilt it from the ground up under my own branding. And after a year, I started showing back up in my brother's streams. But it took a year of earning it myself before I felt
Glad to find
good about
time
it.
to catch your stream. Sending love
Yeah.
to you and
So
your family.
chat can be pretty overwhelming. I don't know if you remember, I think I've told you in the past once when I was doing my speed runs of Demon Souls, you actually rated me once. And I typically have 2 to 6 people in chat. Like if I have 10 people, it's a big day. And I think you had a pretty beefy, I think you showed up with over 100 people. And it just like exploded. I have no mods. I didn't know what was going on. Does chat ever get away from you, or do you ever feel like chat's overwhelming?
If chat's overwhelming, I'm having a really good day, even though it does wear me out. Because people and connecting with people being the primary thing that I want out of Twitch and want other people to get out of my channel. I try not to miss a single line of chat. I try to respond to everybody who's speaking to me, even if it means that I lose the game, lose a challenge that I've been working hard on, that kind of thing. So sometimes it can scroll by too fast, or people are asking thoughtful questions, and I'm trying to cram in a thoughtful answer before the next thing comes up. It can get mentally exhausting, especially for somebody who is a natural introvert like me. I'm the guy who used to get anxious and sweaty just walking into a new gas station. So doing the Twitch thing is,
All the way.
yeah, doing the Twitch thing, I love it, but when it's over at the end of the day, I'm wiped out. And when chat's really busy, it's way worse.
Well, and that's kind of what's really impressive about you, and that I really enjoy. Oh, they're flash photographing me now. It's always interesting to see is that you describe yourself as an introvert, but what initially kept me coming back to your channel is I showed up, I was a challenge runner and I was excited on the raid to see, this Ludwig kill you were doing. And you knew my name the second day I showed up. And it's not just me, you know everybody in your chat's name, you recognize them. Is there a trick to doing that? Or is that just something you've always found easy to do?
Well, I have a little bit of a leg up on that because when I was younger, everything I read, I memorized it instantly. I still remember my fourth grade girlfriend's social security number because I saw it one time.
And it is for sale. If you...
I'm not as good at that as I used to be, but but it does help a lot. Plus, again, with that focus on people first and connections first, I have prioritized it. I will cycle it in the back of my head. When somebody new comes in, I will cycle it in the back of my head, whatever I learn about them, 5 or 10 times over the course of the stream so that there's a better chance I'll know them next time. We, at one point, before stream kind of got bigger, I even knew everybody in my chat by first name, what they did for a living, how their family was doing. But it is getting a little hard to keep up with it now. And I feel bad about that because I feel like I'm not giving the old broski the way I'd like to.
Yeah. Now, you obviously mentioned that you like growing community and that's how you focused on building your channel. Obviously, that doesn't fit into the Twitch meta. No offense, but you're not a large-breasted woman in a hot tub. So how do you see yourself fitting in with a Twitch meta, or do you just not care? You're just going to do your own thing and come what may?
Pretty much the latter thing there. I'm just a dork with a microphone. You know, I'm a middle-aged dork with a microphone. I show up, I play Nintendo, I hang out with my friends, and I don't pay a whole lot of attention to what's going on Twitch in general, what games are popular, what memes are circulating, stuff like that. If I did, I feel like I would maybe do better with growth, but it wouldn't be the stream that I'm comfortable with and that I'm eager to do every day. It would start to feel like a chore or a job. And if it ever feels like a job, I'd rather just go get a job.
Well, because it's a job's a different security relationship, right? And I know we just had the trip back to the United States to see family, and that did cause you some mental stress, although it absolutely worked out in the end because of the community, right?
Right. So a regular job, you know what you're going to be paid and when you're going to be paid, so you have that security, as you mentioned. But you also don't have the opportunity to do off-the-wall things or have a shockingly good day out of nowhere. But like as you mentioned, the trip to the U.S., when you take time off of a regular job to make a trip like that, have a vacation, attend to family business, whatever, you know what money you're going to lose, but you know when you come back to work, you're still going to have your position and things will proceed like normal. With my 2.5 weeks off of stream because of the trip, there was a very real concern that the channel may never recover, because the truth is, if you take more than 2 days off in a row on Twitch, you notice it in your stats. There are people who find some other streamer in the meantime and they never come back. And I'm just going to be totally open and honest here. We lost almost half of our viewership, and I went broke because of that trip. And we're working on climbing out of the hole and continuing the show. But making the best of it, and the community has been amazing to back me up on that and make me feel welcomed back even more than I had hoped for.
So how do you decide what to play? Like, obviously you say you talk a lot, and I love watching your Deathless runs because you'll just like stop in the middle of the road where you could have a random enemy walk by and kill you and have a 5-minute conversation. But how do you pick your games? What do you decide you want to play?
That's a really tough thing for me to do because while I love gaming as a thing, there's a lot of games I don't love, and a lot of games or even genres that are impossible for me to stream given my stream style, personality, and focus levels. So what I don't do is I don't look around Twitch to see what's popular and getting views, for the primary reason that I don't care. I want to play what I want to play and what's fun, because if I'm having fun, then chat's having fun and it works out better for everybody. If I'm forcing a game just because it's popular, it's not going to work out well. It just does not happen that way for me. Bremen here has seen me try to force games that viewers have requested, and I hate them, and my mood turns sour, and the stream ends early, and we have a lower view count the next day. So how do I choose games I do want to play? I choose games based on mechanical simplicity, in terms of there's not a whole lot of information to juggle and text to read through and stats to compare. Stuff where I can just mash buttons, beat down the bad guys while I mostly focus on chat. So I have a few genres that I focus on, and they make it easier to stream, but it has changed what I like in gaming compared to before streaming.
So this was an interesting question. I hadn't thought we would get this from a student, but it was a really interesting concern. Do you have any restrictions or any efforts that you try to control who shows up to your stream? Their question was specifically focused on age, but I just remember you making a very crass joke once, and Sensu's mom literally popped up in chat, right? The mother-in-law's right there. Do you try to restrict that, or you just kind of helplessly do what may?
The only real restriction that I apply is if I find out you're under 18, for moral, ethical, and legal reasons as part of my Twitch affiliate agreement, because I am an 18 plus channel tagged that way, I do have to ban you. Plus, we get into serious topics. We do have crass jokes. There's, things that are just not kid friendly. So I try to be careful about that. But as far as beyond that, friends and family, things like that, they're free to watch, but I give them a warning ahead of time. Look, this is how I run my stream. Don't be surprised what you hear or see or learn about me. And the girlfriend's mom showing up, she's made a habit of that. She will lurk on the channel all day, and then as soon as I mention her daughter's bottom or anything of the sort, she's like, "Hi." But
So
she knows
really understands Twitch and how it works.
Yeah, she understands it. She thinks it's funny, and she makes jokes herself when we're over visiting. So, but at first it was Heart Attack City, but I've gotten used to it. It's okay.
Now you're older like me, right? We're both over 40. Woo, too old to be on Twitch, people.
Ooh.
What did you do before this started? Because you said you started streaming 6 years ago, full time, 4 years ago. So what'd you do before that?
A variety of things. My employment history includes everything from food service when I was younger to working in computer shops doing, tech bench break fix type stuff. I've done Linux and networking for a Fortune 500 company in Chicago. I have done Windows 2000 administration for the Federal Reserve Board of Governors in Washington, D.C. I've run the security department, the actual campus security department for a small private university in West Virginia. I've done a little bit of everything, and I, to be honest, I made a mess of a couple of them, and also passed on a couple of them when renewal came up because the grass was greener elsewhere, and it turns out I was wrong. So I had settled into retail management as what I was probably going to do for the rest of my life until I fell into streaming.
Do you feel like streaming has changed the way you interact with video games? Do you find them as enjoyable as you used to? Or is it kind of become a job? So when you're not streaming, you're like, I'm not playing games right now.
It's been kind of a mixed bag. Streaming has made me explore new games and new genres that I would have never touched or been interested in. And I found some of my all-time favorites like Subnautica and Outer Wilds, and Dark Souls. My God, Dark Souls, Soulsborns were a mess for me. I had zero interest. I even rage quit my first run of Dark Souls 1, my first experience, and didn't come back to it for a year. And now, of course, it's my bread and butter and it's in my heart. But it's also made me abandon games and game genres that I used to love, like story-heavy RPGs and things like that, because they're really hard to keep up with and become kind of immersed in when I'm distracted by chat every 2 seconds. And, long cut scenes and lots of dialogue or text are impossible for me to deal with. Now, I don't game a lot off stream because I just don't have the time now, and I figure I'm 30, 40 plus hours a week gaming is enough. But I did get a launch Steam Deck. So that right there has definitely changed things. I can now game on the go in a way I couldn't before because my whole Steam library is available. I find myself playing retro and indie games when I'm on the train or sitting at the kitchen table. So I'm getting back into off-stream gaming, and I'll be able to pick up some of the stuff that I've had to put on the shelf all this time. So that'll be nice.
Well, you mentioned retro gaming, and that's, I guess, technically what we grew up with. It doesn't feel like retro gaming. What was your top game as a kid, and what are your top 5 games now?
Top game as a kid. Oh man, I went so many. That's a tough question. Of course, anything Zelda, anything Mario, anything Metroid, Tetris. Speaking of being old and retro, I had a launch NES the very first Christmas that Nintendo was available. I had one. So Mario 1 and Duck Hunt. I would say my favorite from way back as a kid was Final Fantasy 1. The first game I ever bought with my own money, collected from Christmas cards that year, and picked up at Walmart on Christmas afternoon.
Nice.
Top 5 these days, so my all-times then would be Bloodborne number 1, Dark Souls 1 and 2, and then the number 4 and 5 spot I kind of waffle on sometimes. It depends on my mood. But I go back to some of the retros like Zelda, Link to the Past, and Mario 3. But I also am really tempted to include Outer Wilds and Subnautica, despite them being so far out of what I would normally play. Every once in a while, a few times a year, I come across a new game that just blows me away. It hooks me. We do 15-hour streams 3 days in a row. And it's all of a sudden in my top 10 ever. But a month or two later, it's sunk down to maybe the top 20, once the glow has worn off. So. Well,
now you mentioned Dark Souls and that you love it and you've done Deathless. I know you just got the run. That was a long time in the making.
Oh, God.
What was that journey like across several years on Twitch?
Okay, so like I said, I hated my first run of Dark Souls, and it was only seeing another streamer do it a year later that made me get the urge to come back and try it. It was a long slog, but I fell in love, and I did a back-to-back run of all 3 games and DLC. And then all of a sudden, I was ruined for all other games. I couldn't play anything else. I played nothing but one of the Souls or another for the next, year and a half, almost 2 years. Even bought, a PS4 for Bloodborne, and chat bought me a PS4 for Bloodborne, and viewers sent me a PS3 for Demon Souls, which started the whole Soulsborne thing. But then when I got back to Dark Souls 1, something about it just sets it above all the others for mechanical gameplay. Something about it just clicks with me. So I said, you know what? I don't want to wear armor. I want to make this harder. You know, it's a little too easy. I've done a few runs. I want to make this harder. So we stripped down naked. And then I said, okay, this is still too easy. Let's make this harder. So I stopped leveling my character. And it just kind of developed into this crazy deathless attempt. Others have done harder deathless runs. They've done naked, no buff, no glitches, no cheese, SL1, no hit runs. But my run just kind of developed on its own. And I refused to look at how anybody else did their deathlesses. And I just kind of developed the run from scratch. And 2 years of hard struggle. I would de-rust for a couple of days and then make a few days of serious attempts. And then I'd feel like chat's a little bored. Let's play something else. And then we'd come back to it later. We did Sunday Souls for 2 years straight. And then we finally got it. And it was the most satisfying accomplishment of my gaming life. And yet I still did it in a way that I don't consider good enough. So we're going back to it.
So one of the things you do is you regularly compete with chat. You mentioned the, oh gosh, I'm blanking on that, crowd control.
Crowd control.
You mentioned that. What's that like? Because they can do things to you while you were doing your deathless, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So what could they do? What was the most frustrating for in the future when I want to punish you?
Things like dropping my hit points to 1 in the middle of a boss fight, or when I'm already poisoned, so it's an instant death.
Oh.
And doing it repeatedly, the long run back down to Blighttown, and then hitting me with it again and again and again. Thanks, Maneuvel. He's helping. They can do things like force the game to use New Game Plus stats for the bosses to increase the difficulty when my own stats don't increase. They can make me slow if I'm fighting a boss or is standing in poison. They can make me fast when I'm on the rafters trying not to fall. And they can even time it to where they drop me to 1 HP while I'm doing a safe fall that I would survive, but it goes to 1 HP while I'm in midair and it's death on impact. That even made it into the channel trailer, because the first time that happened, I was just floored. So, the pluses and minuses, I mean, I think it's great fun. I don't take the run serious. I try to play at my best and beat chat, beat whatever challenge they put in front of me. I think it's a great feeling when they've done everything they can to destroy me and I still get the win on a hard boss. But at the same time, all of that does generate revenue for the channel, helps keep the lights on, sets me for the next month. So it's a trade-off, and I think it's a great way to allow the community to have some fun at my expense and bring a little flavor to the entertainment on the channel.
Well, and you recently lost very big with chat, yes?
Yes.
Why don't you tell everyone what your punishment agreed upon with chat was, and then I would like to hear how you honestly feel about it. Like, are you okay with it? This was a risk we're taking, or do you kind of like, oh shit, I've got to go through with this now?
Okay, so we had some crowd control streams with chat. It was a best of 3 competition, 3 long, like 18 to 20 hour streams, where I had to beat the game and roll credits before they spent money to roll the credits and send me back to the beginning.
So they could pay money and reset the game instantly.
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes they would do it at random times, and sometimes they would wait until the final boss 3 hours into the run and send me back to the beginning. So, so fundamentally, I lost. I beat them once. They beat me twice. I got too tired and gave up and and confessed the loss. And as a result, me of all people, have to put on a cat girl maid outfit and do the full makeup and everything. And I have to actually try to live the character for 5 days of streams of Final Fantasy 14, which is so anime that I don't even want to do it. And it's an MMO, which I don't want to do. But so I'm not looking forward to doing the thing itself, but I am looking forward very much to chat having a riot with it because that's what it's about.
So are you gonna have to purchase a maid outfit?
Do you have to purchase a maid outfit?
I do, and yeah, I ordered the cheapest, trashiest, most ridiculous looking one that I could find that would fit.
Originally it was 3
Fantastic.
days, but we full added
Now,
2 days
obviously,
for
you
a
talked about,
unbeatable charity goal that was then
Getting
met immediately.
donations and crowd control and stuff. So obviously, the answer, if you're a ginormous streamer, is that you live off of ad revenue. Or I guess if you're a lady in a hot tub, you have your OnlyFans, which I'm looking forward to. But how do you make it work? Like, what actually, is it donations? Is it Twitch subscriptions? How is it that you make ends meet month to month?
Okay, so we have reached a size and a level where the normal monthly payout for Twitch from my recurring subscriptions, gift subscriptions, and people using bits can pay most or all of my bills, at least the part that I'm responsible for, because thankfully I have a partner with a good job. And then anything else from stream upgrade equipment to new games to pocket money to anything like that, I do rely on donations. I do rely on tips, which happen at random times, and they also happen when we do things like running a ticker for a specific purpose, and things like that. But it's a careful balancing act to not ask chat for too much too often, but so that I'm able to go to them when there's an actual need.
That's a student,
Ah,
so-called sage.
that's what I figured. Thanks for the follow, by the way. Welcome on in.
Well, do you guys have questions or should I just keep going? Okay, people say they're going to think, so I'll just keep asking
Okay.
questions.
You asked one question I wanted to ask was like, which games does he want to play? Or like, how does he choose which games?
Okay.
Oh, I have a question. Did he have to have his voice before he started, or did it have to be developed at some point?
Did you hear?
No, because there was an alert over both of those.
Okay. So one said question they asked was already asked. The other question was your voice. Was it that way naturally, or did you craft this? And I know it's a running joke in chat that we talk about you should try to get voiceover work, but obviously someone's adoring your voice here.
Well, it always makes me feel a little awkward. I don't take compliments well, but I mean, I appreciate them, but I always get a little, little bashful. But it's the natural voice, comes from both genetics, growing up in my father's bar full of cigarette smoke, constantly. My brother and I both sound very, very similar.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Years and years of smoking myself, but I've quit. I now vape. I don't do any microphone treatments. I don't craft my voice. It's just how I am. And sometimes I even find myself having to tone down a little bit if I feel like it's getting crunchy on the microphone.
So how does your relationship work? Obviously, I know Sensu, she is a part-time streamer as well, but how does your relationship work with the fact that you're always streaming? Are there any difficulties that arise because of that?
Not really. She's extremely supportive. I start streaming when she's still at work. I'm still streaming when she gets home, but that gives her time to decompress, make dinner, get settled in, start up her own stream if it's one of her scheduled days. The only complications it really causes are just time management in the evenings, because sometimes I just want to end stream, even if it's a really good stream, to go spend time with her, because sometimes the good streams run until she's got to go to bed. And I didn't move 4,000 miles to let her, fall asleep alone every night. So other minor complications, like I can't do a big deal stream when she's got to work the next day, because with my voice, it goes through the walls and keeps her up. So, I have to kind of schedule around that a little bit. But no, she knows what's up, and she wants to see me succeed, and we don't have any friction or complications at all over it. In fact, she is she is definitely my number one supporter and ally in everything I do on Twitch.
Well, let's ask the terrifying question, because you moved across the ocean to be with this young woman, and you don't speak Dutch to my knowledge.
Correct.
So how's that going in terms, not the relationship?
Mm-hmm.
How is living in a foreign country that you don't speak the language going?
Amazingly well. Incredibly well. Way better than I expected. I mean, I've traveled before. I've spent some slightly extended time in a couple other countries doing work or whatever. Philippines, Vietnam, stuff like that. But those were just, a month to 3 months. The settling in here, I've had a massive bit of luck in that my partner is from a country that is the most English-friendly country in the world that does not have English as an official language. 96% of the Dutch can speak at least some degree of English, and most of them are pretty good at it. So I've never really gone anywhere where I couldn't communicate, or with the person, with a shop worker or anybody I met. It's been super smooth. I do feel bad for not learning more Dutch faster, because it is a common Dutch complaint. While they're happy to use English, they want you to learn Dutch. But you run into a complication there. If you use bad Dutch, they hear your accent, they will switch to English for your convenience, and it's hard to get them to go back to Dutch so you can practice.
My wife and I lived in France for a year, and I just remember her telling this horrible experience about going down to the pharmacy and trying to ask for something, and the pharmacist just looks at her and goes, "I do speak English."
Yeah, I have not really tried to bust out any Dutch when I'm out and about yet. It's not the language itself; it's the accent, and I'm a perfectionist. I've got to at least try to do it right. And they have such a peculiar and specific accent that, I'll be honest, I almost feel like I'm mocking them if I try to copy the accent. So it makes me shy about it, So, but overall it's going really, really well.
Well,
You have to have taxi stream.
okay, so the question is, what are the technical requirements you feel are needed for the internet in order to stream?
Not much at all. It has to be a stable connection, and you need, say, 10 meg per second up or better in order to be able to stream at Twitch's maximum of 6 megs per second broadcast quality. And other than that, it's all just your own PC requirements, and it can all be pretty minimal, and you just work up in quality from there.
Well, now you talked about PC requirements. So if you look online and you try to find out how to stream, they talk about 2 PC setups. They talk about 1 PC setups. What setup do you use? And did you put a lot of choice into that? Or did you just kind of, wing and a prayer?
It started off total wing and a prayer, because I had built a gaming PC before I even considered streaming. And it was the first gaming PC I'd built in years, because my other jobs required a more technical-oriented PC for Linux and so on. So I started streaming with only 1 monitor and totally not the right hardware for streaming. I had an old camera I found in a box of my cords and cables, and the whole deal. But chat had gradually helped me fund upgrades. I do use a single PC setup right now, but for various technical reasons, I would like to move to a dual PC setup when possible, although that might be really hard to do financially with the incoming baby. My PC has been upgraded and rebuilt extensively over the last few years with parts specifically picked for streaming purposes, like a slightly slower processor, but with more cores so I can juggle more apps, across the load and things like that. And chat has made it possible. None of it would have been possible without chat. Love you, chat.
What parts specific?
What parts specifically did you look into purchasing? Like, were there things that you were like, I've got to have that part at this, and maybe the power supply unit can be slightly not? Was there anything that you're like, that was the part?
The GPU, I absolutely had to have an NVIDIA graphics card because their onboard video encoder and decoder is far better than AMD's cards offer. So you get better quality at a lower bit rate and lower system load. I did need a capture card for consoles, and I went with a mid-level option because it was half the price of the big name that streamers use, but met all the technical requirements. My CPU, like I said, I went with a slightly slower 12 core, as opposed to a much faster, a bit faster 8 core, so that everything I'm doing has enough cores to balance out across. There's a lot of heat generation because I'm running such a high load all the time, so really good cooling. And I did skimp out on things like the case and the power supply. It's a bare minimum. I've got 15 euro speakers on the desk, So you go cheap where you have to so that you can go big where it counts, for sure.
What's the longest stream you've ever done?
What is the longest marathon stream you've ever done?
Oh,
And could you describe what that was like?
29 and a half hours.
Whoa.
It was completely unscheduled and unplanned. We just started a normal stream on a normal day. I had only had 4 hours of sleep. Sometimes when I wake up with too little sleep, instead of feeling tired, I'll kind of feel cracked out, I suppose. So I'm kind of hyper and whatever. And we just had a good vibe going. So I just stuck with it and until I couldn't anymore. And as long as there was a chat to talk to and a game to play, and I didn't fall asleep in my chair, I was there. All 3 of my 24 to 29 hour streams have been completely unplanned, and every 24-hour stream I've tried to do has failed. It's just got to be the right vibe, the right energy, the right game.
So we're used to YouTube and we're used to rage quitting. Have you ever rage quit? I know you have, and just like pieced out, goodbye stream. Could you, why? Like what happened there?
It's happened a few times. Dark Souls 1 on the Orenstein and Smo fight, my first run of the game, is where I rage quit and uninstalled the first time because I was letting chat backseat me and they trolled me into a really bad build and gear. So I had no chance in the fight. It was miserable. And I was like, I'm out. I've also, like I said, it took a year to come back to it and give it another shot. I've also rage quit Sekiro on launch day because it wasn't a true Souls game and I was angry. So
That was so funny.
I didn't just rage quit. I also put up a screen capture so they could watch me uninstall that garbage. To be clear, I think it's a great game. It just wasn't the game I was hoping for. So my expectations were, my feels were hurt in the wrong way. Funny thing is, I reinstalled it and gave it a second shot the next day. And I also rage quit it. And that's when Babe messaged me for the very first time and said she was a game journalist and wanted to know why I hated the game so much. And that started the conversation that's still going now.
Cool.
So, me and my friends were trying to start like, which, like, recommendations of how to get.
So the question was, we've got a student in the class who says they're starting to set up a Twitch group
Okay.
to try to grow. Do you, as someone farther along the line doing this professionally, have any advice that you would give them?
That's kind of tough because I've never been part of a stream team, and I've always just individually networked with streamers who had a vibe and a community that I felt like I could, fit in and enjoy. I think stream teams are probably really helpful in some cases and really pointless in others. It really depends on how it's set up and who you bring in. There are some stream teams I've seen grow over the last couple years that my girlfriend has either been part of or her close friends have been connected with, and I've seen it be really beneficial. The thing that I've noticed about it is you can't just say, okay, we're going to create a stream team, and that's it. You have to put the work into it, cross promo each other, do collabs. You've got to be really loyal to each other to help each other's visibility on social media. To make it count for anything, you've got to really commit to it. And that's about the most I can say on it, given that I've never done it myself.
How do you go about branding? Because of course I love the Old Man Broski emote. I obviously have told you multiple times you need to put that on a coffee cup for me. So how do you go about deciding your branding? How do you develop that? What do you do?
Okay, so my branding came about totally, well, not totally, but mostly by accident. My original Twitch name on the account that I quit and deleted was tooled around my brother's name because I was just hanging around his streams and wanted, hey, I'm the brother. So it was Smoke-a-Broski because my brother was Smoke-a-Loke. When I came back to streaming, I was thinking to myself, what is my hook here? What sets me apart? And what I realized was that I was in my mid to upper 30s and my entire audience at the time was high school and college kids. So I was kind of the old man, telling them about the history of gaming and, stuff like that. And, giving life advice in chat that brings serious relationship and job and career and school, questions to me. So I said, okay, so we're going to stick with the Broski because that's what everybody calls me, but let's go Old Man Broski. And that was like it for the branding. Now, this emote and everything that's in the branding that sprung up around it was, this emote was commissioned for me as a surprise birthday gift by one of my original mods. And I loved it. I immediately made it the centerpiece of all of my channel art and all of that stuff. It's very much me. It's perfect. I mean, I even have it tattooed here now because of the charity stream. So all my other emotes have been built around that concept. I don't do a whole lot of branding and marketing thinking or effort just because my approach is I'm just going live and playing Nintendo, and if people show up and it works, cool. If not, I'm just still going to be playing Nintendo. What's the big deal, But the community has kind of organically built up this branding around it, and I've done a little nudging here and there to steer it toward or away from certain things, but that's generally the gist of it. I think it's better to let your community decide what's best about your channel and what your channel identity is. If you're not going to be putting on a mask and playing a character as a streamer, if you're just going to be yourself, let your community decide what they see in you.
Copyright. How much we had to deal with that?
Have you had to deal with any copyright issues? Or has that not really been an issue for you? How do you actively try to avoid that?
Zero issue. Nobody's ever copied my stuff. I don't do anything that might infringe myself. I did have a cool incentive for channel subscribers at one point. If you were a subscriber, you got an entry clip that would trigger a sound clip that would play of your choice every time, the first time you speak in each day's stream to announce your arrival. Maybe I'm in a boss fight and I can't look at chat, but I'd hear that you're there and I'd say hi. But I had to get rid of those because DMCA strikes started rolling out and copyright issues and all that. We now make them just a Patreon sub thing to limit it. But beyond that, I mean, I don't play music on stream and I don't play other people's content.
Now, there is music that you do play on stream occasionally.
Mhm.
You talked about the community you're very invested in the community, but the community is very invested in you. Yes. Jacob wrote a song.
Yes. There
Would
is
you
an
share part of that with us and talk about it?
Okay, so one of my fantastic longtime viewers, a guy by the name of Jacob, likes to play ukulele and write, funny little lyrics and goof off, comedy songs. And my Dark Souls 1 Deathless route that I was developing and really grinding, he wrote an entire ukulele ballad describing the run, all the major points of the run from start to finish. Some of it is really funny, and some of it's just silly, and I just go, really? But it's great. I don't think there are many channels out there, especially my smaller size, that have had entire songs written and recorded for them. It is The Old Man in Lordran, or The Ballad of Broski. I'd play it for you now, but it wouldn't come through on the microphone, and I don't have desktop audio capture set up. But right after this whole session is over, I will play it for stream. So if y'all want to hear it, it'll be there. And I really should feature it more. I should have it, used in more places and more often. It just kind of sits there languishing, even though I love it dearly.
If you'll give me 30 seconds after we get off the phone, I will take the class over to your stream so that we can hear it for you.
Okay. I'll put it on right after the session while I take a quick stretch break before I come back. That way you guys can hear it without all my blabbing over top.
Does anyone have any other questions? Yes. So did you hear the question?
I did not.
All right. Well, you're going to be a father soon again, right?
Mhm.
So what are you doing to prepare for this?
Oh, dear. Not enough, that's for sure. And not fast enough either, because we're due in July. Well, okay, so when I moved here, we decided to let nature take its course because we didn't think it would happen so quick. And about 10 days after I
Surprise!
arrived, she's pregnant, okay? I guess that's what happens when you're separated by COVID and passport issues for over 2 years. But so the current prep is just to try to grow the community as much as possible before the dip in schedule that we will take when the baby arrives, not just around the arrival, but also because I will be the stay-at-home parent. So I gotta make
Hello.
I gotta make everything count as much as possible stream-wise between now and then. I'm pushing to achieve partner status on Twitch, which helps with sponsorships and other things that'll help keep the revenue stream solid even when I'm streaming a little bit less, hopefully only a little bit less, but we shall see. I'm also working on ways to incentivize revenue on the channel by giving back to the viewers and, creating a flow that will be survivable on my side during the lean months right after the baby arrives. And then I'm also inviting the community to be Twitch aunts and uncles for the child. So, if they want to be kept, engaged on the baby's progress and growth and learning and development, And I also like to tease chat. They're the ones who allowed me to move here. So this baby is partly their fault. So they're on the hook for child support.
I like it. Any closing questions before I let him go?
Wait, how often does he stream? Like every day, but like what are the hours?
How often do you stream and what are the hours you try to hit?
Okay, so I try to stream 5 days a week, sometimes six. Sorry, I was reading something in chat and it threw me off. 5 to 6 days a week, as much as possible. I usually start in early afternoon. I can't start any earlier than that, or I lose all my U.S. audience because they're still in bed. And I try to put in about 40 hours a week. Sometimes it's only 30, sometimes it's 50 or 60 when we have big crowd control and charity runs and things like that. And I would like very much to get back to the bonus streams where if I'm having insomnia or just wake up feeling really hype first thing in the morning or whatever, I just go live when I feel like it to get the extra hours in and the extra connection to the community. But that's difficult to do right now while we're pushing for partner, because if my viewer average drops because of the random unscheduled streams, then that hurts my partnership applications. So it used to be, I mean, I would wake up at 3 a.m. to get a drink and say, screw it, I'll throw on the bathrobe and do a stream till breakfast. I can't really do that right now, which actually kind of disappoints me because I try to keep this as organic and natural flowing as possible instead of rigorous job, because that defeats the purpose.
Cool. Well, we're approaching the end of class, so I better log off so we have time to listen to the song you're going to put on for us.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in and talking to the students about what it's like to be a professional streamer. Thank you, chat, for tolerating us and having us here. We appreciate that. I'm sure I'll see you around in chat itself, watching Broski later. So thank you for coming in. I'm sure they're very thankful, but they're camera shy. So
I've really appreciated the opportunity. It's been really, really cool. When you invited me, I was kind of floored. And I've had a lot of fun with this. I hope I've been helpful and informative to some degree. And now back to that partnership grind.
absolutely. Thank you, Broski.
Thank you.